Howdy gamers, and today's a busy day. I don't have time to talk about whether playing through Wii U is worth playing in 2021. You see, a year ago I put up a flyer asking if anyone wanted to come over to my house and play NHL 94 on April 18th, 2021. Well, that was a year ago, meaning today's the big day. Millions of people should be showing up any minute now. Of course, I did a little whoopsie daisy, and I now have a problem on my hands. You see, I accidentally bought the wrong game, but don't worry, I think I can fix this. No one's gonna notice the difference. It's foolproof. Well then, it has been 10 hours. I don't think they fell for it. I have to get something off my chest. Not only is this the first time I've ever played a hockey game developed by EA Sports for the Sega Genesis, SNES, and Sega Saturn that was officially licensed by the National Hockey League, released in 1993. This is also my first time playing a sports game without PD Piranha in it. I always figured it was too big of a risk, but hey, I'm finally doing it, so you could say this is a pretty big deal. Fortunately, I won't be too far out of my comfort zone because this game has Ron Barr, which, it's close enough in my book. Also, if you're wondering why I'm just now trying out a non-PD Piranha sports game, and why it's one that came after Margaret Thatcher's death, it's because I'm playing through the top 125 games of all time, and this was number 109. It's probably good to mention while I'm playing through the top 125 games of all time, I'm trying to play through the most definitive versions of these games, which, in this case, would be NHL 94 Rewind. It's on EA Player Game Pass, which works out perfect for me considering I accidentally bought the wrong game, I don't own an SNES, and this version came out after Margaret Thatcher's death, which means it's officially on the games I can play list. Anyways, NHL 94 Rewind was originally a pre-order bonus that came with NHL 21 as an updated version of the original game, where everything is the same except they fixed some glitches, added more glitches than they fixed, and some other minor changes like graphics and legal stuff. Fortunately, they didn't add any online multiplayer, which is perfect for a game released in the middle of a pandemic. So, because they added no online multiplayer and no one showed up to my NHL 94 get-together, I had to play this game entirely single player, but even then, I don't think that changed my opinion on the game. Even if while I was playing it there was someone to hear me complain about how there's no PD Piranha, it wouldn't have made it any less bad. Something that would have made it less bad though is having more than 4 songs. I'm not asking for this game to have as many songs as Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix, but I am asking for a little bit more. And the worst part about there only being a whole 4 songs is the fact that there's no song playing while you're actually playing the game. There's a song for the title screen, menu, pre-game, and Stanley Cup, but not the actual game. The game does make up for it though by having really loud grunts in the middle of the game, so I'm almost willing to forgive them. Keyword being almost, because it's just so confusing to me as why there's no music playing while you actually play the game. I'm pretty sure that's the whole point of a video game soundtrack. To be fair, the songs it does have are really good, plus I'd rather stay at the title screen than actually play the game, so who knows, maybe EA was onto something here. And with that passive-aggressive comment, I should probably make something clear before someone gets mad at me for having an opinion. I understand that NHL 94 is an old game. I mean, it literally has the year released in the title. I noticed. However, just because it's old, that doesn't mean it's safe from all criticism. Super Metroid is a masterpiece, and Yoshi's Island, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, and Super Mario World are some of the best platformers of all time. All of those released on the SNES, so saying that NHL 94 is bad just because of the system it released on is just not accurate. If games like Super Metroid can be compared to modern standards, so should other games. To be fair, there are some problems that do come from it being on an SNES, sure, but that doesn't mean they aren't magically not problems. There's still issues with the game, just issues they couldn't do much about. An example of this would be the D-pad, more specifically its limited movement. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge D-pad fan. That's why I use 2 left Joy-Cons, just so I can get the most D-pad possible, but I would be lying if I said it didn't have its flaws. With an analog stick, you can aim stuff in any direction you want, but with a D-pad, there are only 8 directions you can move in. This can be a problem sometimes, like let's say for example, I don't know. How about when you're aiming a hockey puck in an SNES game called NHL 94? There, because you're using a D-pad which has limited movement options, you're only able to hit the hockey puck in 8 different directions, making for weak aiming options. As a result of these weak aiming options, whenever the goalie blocks your shot, it doesn't feel like you're at fault, but instead the game for having limited aim. In any game, the player should always feel in control and never feel like them losing was the game's fault. Even worse is that although there are 8 different directions on a D-pad, you can only score on the goal facing forward, so if you're facing the goal and shooting the puck forward, you realistically only have 3 different directions you can aim in. Obviously you can position yourself around on the field, but just having limited aiming feels restricting and doesn't help to feel like it's your fault for missing the goal. It would be like playing Mario 64 with the D-pad instead of an analog stick. Okay, maybe not, but you still get what I mean. Also, on top of the controls being bad, the goalie gives no leeway whatsoever. The game doesn't account for your lackluster aiming options, and instead tries its hardest to make sure you will never score. From what I can tell, literally the only way you can score is if the goalie falls down, which doesn't feel as good as just shooting the puck in. Also, cool, I get the goalie's job is to stop me from scoring. I'm never gonna get mad at a goalie for blocking a goal, the same way I'm never gonna get mad at a Donkey Kong Barrel Blast owner for having copious amounts of sex, but a difficulty option when facing a CPU would have been really appreciated. It's not like the game doesn't have customization for other stuff, there's a surprising amount of customization in this game. Customization wise, it feels like this game has everything except for a difficulty option and funky mode. Fortunately, other than those two, like I said, you can customize the game a lot, like the game length, whether you want to control the goalie on your team or not, and if line charges and penalty shots are on or off, all of which I appreciate. The more customization options a game has, the better. However, no matter how much stuff you add, customization, a good soundtrack, Parmesan cheese, it still can't fix the core problems with the gameplay just being boring. When the gameplay of a game is good, that's when customization options are appreciated. But I don't know, I've had this hockey stick in my garage for almost 10 years, and up until now I thought it was another way to turn on my Wii U, so I could just not enjoy the gameplay because I'm not a hockey fan. To me, someone who likes PD Piranha more than hockey, the gameplay seems as basic as it can get. You just go for a goal, miss, the other team gets the puck, you go down the field, the other team misses, you get back the puck, you go back up the field and go for a goal, you miss, and it just repeats until you turn off the Xbox because you got bored. With other games where you face off against an opponent like Overwatch, there are just so many ways to win. Sure, you'll always win by getting yelled at by teammates and stopping the enemy from getting the payload to the end, and also getting the payload to the end yourself, but there is so much nuance to it. From the characters you play as, the different maps, who you decide to target, and when you use your ult, each game plays differently with how you approach it. In NHL 94, unfortunately that's just not the case. Every game will play out the same with you doing the same movements every time because of how simple the game is. Simplicity works in some games like Pac-Man, but that's an arcade game. It's supposed to be an endurance to see how long you can go. And I get that, yeah, this is indeed a hockey game. Once again, it's in the title, I do notice these things, but the point of me talking about this game is to say my opinion on it. Maybe I don't like all sports games that don't have PD Piranha for this reason, because in his sports games, there are items which add a random element, different maps with different playstyles to them, and character stats that make who you choose matter. I get it, none of that is supposed to be in a simulation hockey game, but that's why I don't like it. It's just the same thing over and over again with no differences and hardly any room for strategy. There's barely any replay value to this game. Even if you choose a new map, all it does is change the color of your team and now there's a different PNG on the ground. Big deal. Changing the PNG doesn't make it a new map. I can print out a PNG of Judy Hopps from Zootopia and put it on my wall, but it's still the same room, just with a new reason for my dad to be concerned about me. I'm not even done complaining though. I still have a few more things I need to write down before I mail this off to City Hall. Like, I find it a bit annoying that there's no way to find out the controls for this game other than downloading a PDF of the manual for the SNES version. For the original game, I kind of get that. They expect you to have the manual if you own the game. However, with the enhanced version of the game, NHL 94 Rewind, where it's digital only and there is no instruction manual, they still don't tell you the controls of the game. Not teaching the player how to play your game seems like a pretty big issue to me. I mean, how else am I supposed to know I'm supposed to press start to get off the pause screen? I've just been stuck here for the past hour. Seriously though, there were moments where I was genuinely confused on how to play the game just because the game never decided to teach me how to play, which is an issue. It also just never explains what any of the other modes are, like new playoff and shoot off. Not that those really matter because it's just more hockey, but still. Finally, despite all that negativity, I do have one good thing to say about the game that I love it for. I'm a big fan of how you can have two of the same teams face off against each other so that they can both have the home field advantage. I mean, it really adds to the whole sportsmanship aspect. This might surprise some of you, but I didn't like this game. I'm sure it's fine if you're into realistic sports titles, but if you're not, this definitely won't sell you on the genre. And even then, if you're into realistic sports games, why would you play the one that came out the year Bill Clinton became president? It makes no sense when there's a new and slightly better hockey game coming out literally every year. That's why they give this game an award. I think I would give it the worst SNES game award. Now, I'm sure that there's a worst SNES game out there, probably some licensed game from the depths of hell, but I don't play bad SNES games on purpose, so out of all the good ones I've played, this is the bad one. But that doesn't mean this game is good. To give it a score out of 100, I would give it a 40 out of 100. I'm not going to say this game is awful, but at the same time, I'm not going to say it's average either. From my perspective, it's just a bad game. It really has nothing to offer me, but it's a better game than Thief 2. But don't worry, I'm not the kind of schmuck to just criticize a game and then offer no solutions for it. EA Sports, you better listen right up, because I know how to fix this game in only 5 words. Just add PD Piranha.